It's the Dadnarok After Show. Now, here's Chris and Sean.
Welcome back to the Dadnarok After Show. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
And this week we are talking about Ahsoka Episode 5, Shadow Warrior. Who's the Shadow Warrior?
Dude, I don't know, right? But that was hands down the best episode of Star Wars. It's in that top level ever. That episode by itself, movies, TV shows, you name it, animation, that was right there with it. I just wanted to start with that because, I've been starting a little negative. Even though I've loved the episodes, I've always had a little knock on some things. But this one here, I thought was fantastic.
I loved it too. It was epic. They even released this episode in some theaters across the nation, in big cities. Not here, not in the Midwest anyway, unless you're in Chicago. But yeah, what a visual spectacle too, to watch in theaters. Yeah, I didn't know where this episode was going, but I'm glad they did what they did. They spent pretty much a full episode in the world between worlds. Going back, like I said last week, going back to Hera and following her storyline too. They'd never leave Hera out of it, so I'm happy for that. I thought, both halves of this, the actual, stuff planet side and the stuff in the world between worlds was really good.
I think we're done with Hera for a while. I don't think we'll see Hera until maybe the last episode. Because
she seems to say goodbye in this episode.
For the most part, yeah. That was pretty much what the feeling I got from it. But I love how they explained the world between worlds in this one here. Because I don't think she was physically there. Because we know she was in the water. I don't think she did what Ezra did. I don't think she had the ability to do what Ezra did. I think it was more of like I was saying last episode, she was more unconscious.
Yeah.
It was more of one of those type things. Like she knew of the area, and that's how all these flashbacks and everything took place this time around.
Well, I think that's up for interpretation because it's, we've seen Jedi disappear before, like Obi-Wan and Yoda disappeared when they died. Luke disappeared when he died. It's possible her body vanished. Maybe she actually died. I mean, maybe, and there's been a sense of rebirth about her.
Yeah, because she left in black and came back in white.
Yeah, and I think that's something special about Ahsoka, because I don't think this is the first time that she's technically died, right? Because there was that episode of Clone Wars where she was kind of brought back to life by, was it the daughter? Those three characters or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a sense that's a kind of a special thing about Ahsoka. Like, you can't keep her down. You can't kill her. Then this was like us seeing in real time her progress through that. So I don't know. She was either actually there or not. And I love that they left it up for us to kind of interpret.
Well, I love how Anakin popped up and was like, yeah, you just lost a fight. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you just lost a fight.
Right.
That was good. Just the whole Anakin thing. Like going right back in it. They didn't shy away from it. They went right back full force into it. And it was just, the more it was there, the more they were talking. The lightsaber battles in this episode were phenomenal. And it goes right back to like when I was saying my thing about when Ahsoka was fighting Balin. Why didn't she use both? She used both against Anakin here. I was like, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, okay, but she knows she was so far overmatched against Anakin. Like she was just fighting to survive for a long time when they were fighting.
I heard something too where she left a hand free so she could grab the that globe thing if she needed to. That was her whole mission, was to grab that thing. So if she's got a lightsaber in each hand, then that's kind of difficult to do.
No,
hold on. Let me try to hold both of these in one hand and grab
it. It's like holding free sodas from McDonald's.
When you're trying to carry groceries into the house and you're like sticking stuff in your armpits and you're like,
That's funny. We got Amber here. She's back again, and she said, I didn't fully understand some of the references, but I really enjoyed this one. And that's my thing. I watched, was it Master and Apprentice? It's a special on Disney Plus. And Kathleen Kennedy said she made this statement that you don't have to have any prior knowledge of Star Wars to enjoy Ahsoka. I'm like, that is so disconnected. If you actually start watching it, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, this episode, I think you could, and Amber probably just kind of went with it. Like one of those things where it's like, okay, this seems like sort of a dream theory.
They were playing me in this episode.
Yeah.
They were playing to when we were on Ryloth in that one
Mhm.
Clone Wars battle. And next thing you know, we're at the Siege of Mandalore. And we're
I did
seeing
recognize that one. That was from season 7, the one I
that
watched.
fantastic. As soon as I seen troopers running at me and they had the fin,
Yeah.
knew exactly. We were Clone Wars. I was like,
Right.
holy crap. Then it was like a young Snips. Dude, I was like, recording my reactions would suck because I'm so like internal 90% of the time. But I was like, I was all over the place.
Yeah.
I was enjoying this episode from top to bottom. The whole transformation with Anakin when all of a sudden like, he's walking away and his lightsaber's down and it turns red and it flashes and you see Vader.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so many things in this episode that I was like, I was just flipping out.
Let's see. Amber says the first 2 episodes felt like homework assignments. This was more fun to watch. Both Chopper and David Tennant, Hugh Yang, 2 thumbs up. Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
Hugh Yang at the beginning
Oh,
when
yeah, he had some
when he's
pathos
standing
there.
behind the pillar and he's holding Sabine's
Sabine's
helmet and he's
helmet.
like, I
Yeah.
always tell them to stay together, and they
And they didn't
never
listen, of
listen.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, and the somberness in his
Mhm.
voice. You don't hear usually it's one monotone type of voice out of a droid.
Right.
C3PO, you know it. There's usually one type, and it's you don't hear emotion. You hear emotion in Hu Yang's voice in that time.
Right. 3PO, you would hear fear.
Yeah.
That was his
Okay.
one emotion that he
Yeah.
could get out.
Okay, yeah, I'll give him that.
But yeah, I agree. That was really I felt for him. He was so sad. He lost his buddies there. And it's probably not the first time, right? I mean, he's been around for a long, long time. He's probably seen
Well, he's
Jedi
seen
come
Order
and go,
66
and
go down.
yeah, right.
So I mean,
So
he has had, people that he's been close with just vanish.
yeah. Anakin in this world between worlds. Do you think this was actually like Force Ghost Anakin? Like this was Anakin's consciousness, or was this something that Ahsoka was just visioning?
This is all Ahsoka. Ahsoka was fighting herself within that whole vision. She wasn't fighting Anakin at all. These were all memories of Anakin, and she knows what Anakin became. She knows he's
Hmm.
Vader at this point, or was Vader at this point. So everything that we see in there, I think it's her battling herself and what she was going to become. And that's why when she went in wearing the black and came out wearing white, that
Yeah,
transformation of the realization that I need to change if we're going to move, if I'm going to move forward properly with Sabine or with Jason. I think Jason's got a future somewhere down the line with her because we learned
yeah.
that here in this episode. So yeah, I don't think it was Anakin at all in that vision.
Is that what the takeaway was? Because I feel like, Anakin kept saying there's a lesson to be learned, and I was trying to be like, okay, what are we supposed to take away from this trip down memory lane here? And I guess what I got from it is that, the Jedi, and they were saying this not very subtly, but they were saying, the Jedi lost their way. They ended up becoming warriors instead of what they were before, peacekeepers. And Qui-Gon said in Phantom Menace, "I can't fight a war for you." Yoda in the Empire Strikes Back was like, "Oh, great warrior. Wars not make one great." Like the Jedi pathos before the Clone Wars was something totally different, and the Clone Wars really changed them.
Yeah.
Um, I think maybe the lesson to learned was to trust her gut, because even young Ahsoka had questions about like, what the heck are we doing here?
Yeah.
She says as much to Anakin. So maybe going forward, she doesn't try to turn Sabine into this warrior Jedi with the lightsaber and this and that. Maybe like there's different ways to embrace the Force. Maybe there are different strengths that Sabine has that she can do, and maybe she doesn't have to become a full-fledged Jedi entirely, but Ahsoka can help her become the best Sabine that she could be, if
But
that
yeah,
makes
be
sense.
exactly who she's going to be, not make her into something that she's not. And you were
Right.
referencing one of those conversations that Anakin and young Snips were having, and we
Yeah.
see it in one of those flashbacks on I believe it was Ryloth in this clip here that they're talking about what she's becoming. So let's just check this out real quick.
Yeah.
This isn't what I trained for.
We must adjust to the times. Look, when Obi-Wan taught me, we were keepers of the peace. But now, to win this war, I have to teach you to be a soldier.
that all I'll have to teach my own Padawan one day? How to fight.
I like that. 'Cause that's the realization, right? I think that was the first real realization within this whole like flashback she had
Yeah.
is that the only thing she's gonna have to pass on to her Padawan at someday would be to know how to fight. And that's
Right.
really all we've seen with her and Sabine. She's
Yeah.
trying to teach her how to fight. You've seen it with Hu Yang. You're seeing her, just trying to, you know, skills with the lightsaber. She's already a warrior. She's a Mandalorian.
Right.
So I think that was the first real like part of the lesson we learned there.
My other takeaway too, and all this stuff was kind of subtle, which I don't need it to like beat me over the head with these themes, but it was, I don't know if it was a failure in storytelling that I'm like struggling to extract what the lesson learned is, but I think I got it. Another thing too is that Ahsoka, we see at the end here where she's learning to trust the Force, and I think you got a clip for that too. But like she's basically letting go. She it was all it was a lot of it was had to do with controlling her situation. And maybe that's why she left the order to begin with. Maybe that's why she left Sabine. Just like things aren't going my way, so I'm ditching this thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to now, like I'm just going to see how this works out. I don't know if this whale's going to take me. I don't know if it's going to take me to the right place, but we'll just see what happens. Trusting in the Force.
Well, what? No, what? Let's just go into it. You were already talking about it. Check this
Yeah.
out.
You're certain they know where Sabine was taken?
I have no idea.
What?
No idea. We'll just see where it goes.
It could go anywhere.
I know. That's better than going nowhere.
I love Hu Yang's slow head turn back, but that is such something that Anakin would say. It's better than
Yeah.
going nowhere, and I
Yeah.
think that's lessons she's learned. But no, let's back up here. Amber's got a few things she's trying to add here. Let me see. I disagree. They couldn't detect her until Jason sensed her force, and she was in the physical plane. Oh, so you think she was there until Jason actually heard the lightsaber battle, which was pretty cool when he went and stood, at the edge of the cliff, and he
Yeah.
hears the actual lightsabers being fought.
I like that they took a moment for them to do that. And I like that Hera gave him the moment. It wasn't just like, the typical parent reaction of just being like, oh, Jason, like, you're just hearing things or whatever. That's the kind of stuff you would normally see in shows. But Hera actually like pauses and stops, listens to Jason, gives him the room to do whatever he's doing because she understands. I mean, her dad was a Jedi.
Yeah, there's
And
canon, and then she also has interactions with Ezra. So she's had these
yeah,
interactions with Jedi to know there may be something here. Listen, like I said, and his father.
yeah, right.
Let's
What's
see
another
here.
thing Amber says?
Let's see here. That one there. Here we go. First 2 episodes of homework. Okay, we read that one already. See, it felt like it was kind of a dual vision, which was weird, but not unbelievable.
Yeah, especially in the timey-wimey force World Between Worlds. So you don't think she was actually there in the World Between Worlds?
I think she was moments from drowning. I think she was unconscious in the water.
Right.
Now the only hole in that thinking for me, and when I said that, this came to mind. Chopper couldn't detect her. Chopper
Yeah.
couldn't find her. Chopper found her after she fought Anakin and then threw the lightsaber away.
Right.
That was the
Yeah.
only time when he actually detected her, told Hera where to fly low. Hu Yang was like, oh no, I don't want to go any lower. Hu
Right.
Yang is becoming, a star here. Let's just call it out. Hu Yang's a star.
Yeah.
But yeah, they actually get, even lower to the water, and that's when they find her. So that's the only hole in my argument I'm finding.
I honestly think that this whole World Between Worlds thing is us exploring the living force, the thing we've been thinking about, honestly, since we didn't know the words for it. But when Obi-Wan Kenobi lets himself go on the Death Star and his physical form disappears and there's
I'll be
nothing but a
stronger than you
cloak
can
and his
ever
lightsaber
imagine.
and he's gone, we're like blown away or like, what the hell's going on? What happened? And we forget, we get so used to these big ideas in Star Wars that when new big ideas come, it feels like jarring, like, oh my gosh, it's never been like that before. But all the other things have been like big jarring things, but we're so used to them because Star Wars is from 1977. So, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Obi-Wan disappearing on the Death Star, it's not a big deal because we've seen it for 40 years. But like I think they're really exploring. I honestly think the world between worlds is us going into the living force. These are the teachings that Qui-Gon passed on to
Qui-Gon.
Yoda, passed on to Obi-Wan, passed on to Anakin, which eventually got to Luke in the sequel trilogy. I think that when they disappear in their physical form here, they wind up, and not in a physical form, but in a force form in this world between worlds. And this is where they elevate to some higher consciousness or join the force or whatever. And I think it's a little bit of both. I think Ahsoka was both there and not there. That's why Chopper couldn't
What
pick up actual life signals, but Jason could feel her presence, you know?
do you think maybe she had no life signals at one point when the Luke for not Luke, but Anakin first shows up and says live or die? And
Yeah.
that was the first question he asked her. And then they basically had that first duel before. I mean, she pretty much fought him off until he cut the bridge, and then we went into the flashback. Dude, that whole thing. I said it once already. The lightsaber battles in this episode were great,
Yeah.
great. I mean, it was. I
Yeah.
mean, I thought I felt like I was watching, a Darth Maul fight. How just flipping around everything, just the speed and accuracy, and just seeing. I keep on want to say Luke, Anakin, just on the offensive and seeing how strong he was. I
Yeah.
mean, there was a point where like Ahsoka was just holding on until the end, and
Yeah.
man, I was pumped for it. You can't tell. I'm still pumped for it because I watched it again today. I did a lot of videos. It's
Yeah. Well, what I loved about Anakin too was that we really got to see both of him. We got to see Anakin Skywalker and we got to see that touch of Darth Vader. Like Anakin is both, and you should not honor both, but just like understand that there is duality with Anakin
you can't have
Skywalker.
one without the other.
You can't. Like that dark side was present from when he was a kid and passed, and just because he, returned as a Jedi, Return of the Jedi doesn't mean that his deeds are wiped away,
It
and
doesn't
the
get rid of
evil
all
that
what
he
he did.
did,
Yeah,
him slaughtering, Padawans and, the younglings and all the atrocities that he did, it doesn't wipe the slate clean. Like, I feel like he would have a soul that would be like had have some penance to do in this Force afterlife or whatnot, and this may something if that actually is Anakin's consciousness, maybe that's part of it, is just helping to get his Padawan where she needs to be down the line. I don't know. That's why this is so up for interpretation, and usually Star Wars isn't like that.
yeah.
It's
Star
kind
Wars
of
is
on the
pretty
nose.
straightforward. Yeah,
So that's why I love this episode. It feels so different because there's so many interpretations you could go with as far
I
as
love
what's
how
going
he
on there.
walked in and out of character. When he came
Yeah,
back and he's fighting, he was like, "It's time to die," and he got the red eyes. You see the face that's worn, you
yeah,
know, and he's like just knocking Ahsoka back, 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 and she finally, she loses her lightsabers,
yeah,
and he's like, "It's time to die," and she flips around and gets around him and gets a saber and holds it to him. I love how she says she chooses life or chooses to live, shuts off his lightsaber and throws it, and then he looks down, looks back up, and it's the Anakin from the beginning again. The
yeah.
transformations along the way with this episode were were phenomenal.
Well, if you go into the deeper themes, that's the true pure Jedi thing to do, right? Is to throw away your weapon. We saw Luke do it at the end of Return of the Jedi when he saw that he was turning into his father and the Emperor pinned him. Like he threw away the lightsaber. He's like, no, I'm a Jedi, like my father before me. When Luke told him to go in the cave, and he's like, your weapons, you will not need them. Like, and I think that cave on Dagobah has some sort of connection to the world between worlds, just because that was real to Luke. He actually saw Vader in front of him. He
Yeah.
clashed lightsabers with them, just how Ahsoka saw Anakin in front of her here. And it's like throwing away your weapon is just like it goes to the heart of Jedi. Like I feel like the lightsaber was always meant to be like, deflection, not like
It's a
going after somebody.
defense mechanism, not a weapon of destruction.
Yeah, like any tool used by any people, it could go either way. But yeah, it really touched on some of those hardcore Jedi themes, which I really was impressed with.
That was awesome. And Amber is pointing out here about the actress who played young Snips. The actress who played young Ahsoka was phenomenal. The way she
Mhm.
represented and transitioned from young Ahsoka and moved and reacted to how she took up the present Ahsoka's movements was flawless.
Oh, she did really good. I wasn't thrown out of it by all. I was just like, oh, okay, there's young Ahsoka. And
It-
sometimes there's a danger of like kid actors feeling like kid actors, whatever. But she held her own. She did really good.
Now, I'll be honest, it took me a second because I'm used to young Ahsoka, and this is nothing of no one's fault. They couldn't do this.
Yeah.
Ahsoka's eyes are a little bit bigger. But like I said, that's just me being so deep into that
Because she was a
world with Ahsoka.
cartoon, dude. She
Yeah,
was a
I
cartoon.
know. That's exactly why I had to give myself a second. I was like, okay, I know. Shut that side of your brain off. You know, you're on Ryloth, it's Clone Wars, but this is live action. They can't give her like,
Right.
bug eyes. But
yeah.
no, she did a phenomenal job. And I like how they went from where the first time we seen her, she had like this, like the little star crown around her, and she
Yeah.
had the actual Padawan beads. The next time we seen her, that was gone, and she had a different
Yeah.
headset on. And I'm pretty sure she was still had the beads at that time. And then the last time we see her, it's Mandalore, and that's when like Anakin walks in. Is like, I don't remember this one. Well, this is when we separated.
Yeah.
And that was cool because the guy behind me over my shoulder here was setting a trap for Anakin. And that's when we see Ahsoka and Maul go at it, an epic battle themselves. So
I know. I have to revisit that last season of Clone Wars. It was really good.
I am doing
Battle of
everything in
Mandalore.
my power not to watch 133 episodes of Clone Wars right now. Like, I want to go back and watch them. I want to go back and watch Rebels. There's this Star Wars nerd. Like, I want to see more of just everything. I mean, I want to see this dude. They did this dude dirty.
Yeah,
movies.
Grievous. Yeah.
He is a badass in the Clone
Check
Wars.
that out, Andrew. Amber, you impressed? Chris has got his toys. Pretty cool. We're pretty cool, aren't we? I don't look. I've got my toys too. What am I? Here's a gremlin.
But just
Here,
I want to
look at
see
Alf.
him done right. Yeah, there we go. Alf, he's eating cats.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. I thought for Hayden Christensen to come back in this role that he was in the prequels, and it's been a long time. He's kind of he's in Obi-Wan, but he was in the Vader helmet. He had to be more Vader than Anakin, really. It was good to see him back in that role and to embody this time frame that he was not in the character's shoes. It was a different voice actor and it was animated, but to see him in the outfit and like de-aged, I thought even the de-aging was done really
didn't
well.
take me out of it at all when I seen him.
No,
And I mean, just the black armor and everything was spot
it looks great.
on.
Yeah.
I was like, they've come so far in their de-aging stuff since they did Leia that
Yeah.
one time. It's like, oh,
Amber says we all look better animated. Yeah, that's true. Especially like Snapchat filters and stuff. They turn into they Disneyfy you or whatever. You ever done that? Oh, I'd
I've
love
got
to
a
see
few
you
of those really,
Disneyfied.
really, really terrifying ones I can put out there.
If you knew about my Harry Potter collection, just as cool as you guys, if not even cooler. Oh, well, you know what? Share pictures or something of that. I'd like to see any collection I'm a fan of.
There we go.
Let's see. Is there anything else here? Oh, Benjamin's joining us too. Star Wars 2024. I'm not sure what that means, Benjamin, but I'm with you. I can't wait to see what's down the pike here for Star Wars.
Well, we have a Acolyte coming.
Yeah.
So we know that's gonna be another one. And now that's in the High Republic era. So that's
Right.
gonna be. I mean, I'm guilty. I've been reading High Republic stuff. So, but
Yeah.
most Star Wars fans haven't dabbled in it because they just haven't, and because it's all book form and comic form. So most people don't want to go into it. But I'm really looking forward to see what that's about. But yeah, I mean, we're going forward, and we have the new Rey trilogy coming in.
Oh, right.
I'm kind of curious what that's going to be about. So I'm not sure, Benjamin, if that's what you're speaking of. But right now, between getting Andor and getting Ahsoka, these are two of the flagship shows for Star Wars on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I'm still hanging in there for Mandalorian. I know they had their season 3 really
Oh,
kind of
I
stunk up the
can't
place,
forget
but
about Mandalorian. No,
yeah,
I can't forget about even season 3 was disappointing,
yeah,
but it was still good Star Wars.
got to see my Grogu, see where he goes. What else here as far as this episode? Anything else on the Hera side of things? Like we talked a little bit about Jason. We talked a little bit. How about it ended? Seems like she's in trouble as far as her
I
status there
want
in the New Republic.
I want Hera to be Hera. This is
Yeah,
my ship. This is
yeah,
my droid. I don't have to come back if you don't want me to come back. This title here,
yeah.
it's for you guys. It's not for me. I want
Right.
her to become the rebel that we remember her as. Now we know she's a general later down the road, so it's not going to happen.
Well, do
But
we know she's a general down the road?
yeah, her name is actually you hear her name over intercom in Force Awakens, I think it is.
In The Force Awakens or Rogue One?
It's
Just
one of the
Rogue
movies.
One.
Yeah. There's movies out there, and I think even books that
We
refer to
we
her.
don't know. We don't know. I'm telling you, in this point of the timeline, we don't know. This is the furthest
Hold
we've
on. Oh
seen in
yeah,
the
no, I'm
timeline,
out of.
Hera.
I may be a little out of.
You're thinking of where they call her over the intercom, and it's at Yavin 4.
Yeah.
It's for Rogue One, which takes place prior to A New Hope. That's where we were in the timeline then. So yeah, so this point of the story, but I agree with you. Like, once a rebel, always a rebel. Like, who cares? I mean, Leia gets there eventually, right? They
Yeah.
actually do Senator Organa name drop here. But Leia like leads a whole split fraction of the New Republic later down the line. So we know there's splintering for sure.
And I'm so tired of seeing Mothma.
Yeah.
I'm just so. I mean, even this little like cameo that she had with telling her like, giving her a third degree. Do you have her? No. Do you have any proof? No. Then you have to come home. Sorry, I really don't. I've got my son. I've got my droid. I've got my ship.
Mom
Why
Mothma is telling you to come home.
why do I have to? Why do I have to come home? If you want to strip, I mean, it sounds like if she comes home regardless, these other senators are going to strip her of her being a general regardless.
Yeah.
So why would I was hoping? Now, see, when I first seen the Purrgil, I thought that they were going to land on top, and since they were connected to them, they would have jumped with them.
I
So
was
thought,
thinking that too, is that the ghost would get pulled along with the Purrgil. Yeah.
yeah, I thought maybe the ghost would land, both of them would land on top of the biggest Purrgil, and they would
Yeah.
all jump together.
Right.
That's where I thought that was going. Now, the idea of Ahsoka going out in the ship, kind of like connecting with the Purrgil, I
And then
like that.
I liked it too, and going inside a whale because there's a lot of like biblical stuff. There's Pinocchio, like there's been a lot of literature around like being in the belly of the beast kind of thing, which that I liked thematically. It was really cool, and it was cool just visually. Like wow, they're really going for it.
Oh, the mouth opens up, and Hu Yang, she tells Hu Yang to go in. She's like, I want you in here first.
Yeah.
But that's
Well, I was going to say, the real reason we keep seeing Mon Mothma is because they don't want to shell out the money to do some digital Carrie Fisher for Leia Organa at this time. Like,
it's still a TV show.
Yeah,
And
they
already
probably
put the
could at
aging
some
in.
point.
Yeah.
So, they probably could if they really wanted to, but it's just easier for them to hire the Mon Mothma actress to be like the one to be like, hey, I'm trying to give you as much leniency as I can, but I'm getting a lot of pressure for you to come back. And yeah, that kind of thing.
There was one other thing that I really appreciate that Rebels has done for Star Wars, and it's bled into this wildlife.
Yeah.
We see a connection with wildlife between the loth cats, the wolves on Lothal. We had the spiders. I remember that spider episode they had.
In Mandalorian, the ice spiders.
Yeah, but there was also it was when Jared, Kanan Jarrus actually went to
I remember that. Yeah.
Hondo, not Hondo, the big rock dude, and he was blind.
Yes.
And he was taught
Yondu?
Yondu, yes, because Hondo was a pirate. Yondu.
Right. Yeah.
So when he actually was taught to see and not fear, because the only reason they feared him is because he feared them. So when we learn all that, so we have them, and then lastly the Purrgil. So we have all this wildlife that we're learning that Jedi can connect with and actually become a part of them. And they can learn and use them, another avenue of the Force that we didn't see prior to Rebels.
I know, and I keep bringing up the sequels too, but God, I keep bringing up Rise of Skywalker too. But that happened with Rey and Rise of Skywalker. I don't know if you and I probably only see that movie once, but that big snake thing on the desert planet they were in, it was like attacking them, and she like communicated with it to get it to go away, and she ended up like force healing it or something, and then it wasn't a danger. But that is a running theme. You're right. Through that, the light side of the force can communicate with animals.
I'll be very honest. I have not revisited
I haven't either.
those, and I'm doing it on purpose. I'm letting them sit, and the same reason that I let the prequel sit, because now I revisit them and they hold a special place for me.
Right.
I'm letting these sit so I can kind of go back and rewatch them and let all the noise go away and watch them and just kind of watch them. And they still may be terrible. I'm not going to lie, but I may be able to appreciate them a little more.
Right. Yeah. Which, there's good spots in Star Wars. There's bad spots. That's the way it's been
There
forever.
we go. Amber said she appreciated Senator Organa, so it gave her an idea of the timeline. And
right. Yeah.
That's probably a good call, honestly, because so much of this is over the casual Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And just to give that little blip.
I appreciate any kind of name drop or even a reference to Luke, Leia, and Han throughout this period because, I know it's a large galaxy, but that original trilogy, they were so central to everything. I mean, it's like, Luke is like Luke blew up 2 Death Stars,
Yeah, right.
Like Leia is there, and like Han and just his adventuring, like they're so integral to that and every trilogy so far. Luke and Leia's connection, Anakin, and everything. So anytime that that they're around in this era doing their thing, it's weird to like not follow them just because logistically we can't because of the age of everything. But just like to know that they're out there doing their thing, having their own adventures, it just feels like like my Luke, Leia, and Han, my 3 core characters from that original trilogy are just out there doing their thing. So I love the name drop.
It would have been funny if we had a name drop of Leia, like over like some type of communications.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
Leia, in reality, Leia is really the only one outside of Luke blowing up 2 Death Stars. I mean, you do that, you're known everywhere. But Leia was really the only one of any type of prominence.
Right.
Yeah, at any point, because she was a senator's daughter, then she was a junior senator,
she was,
princess.
Yeah, there's a reverence around Leia.
Just she met a nerf herder. So
yeah. And Han too. I mean, he has his own rep, being like one of the best pilots in the galaxy. Like he earned that, and that's a big title to have. If you're just like he's a hero of the rebellion too. So, I don't know. We can drop off that, but I do like anytime that we hear about their
down those
adventures.
lines though. What I think this show is doing fantastic.
Yeah,
is widening the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
We have a planet that we've never been on.
Yeah.
So we didn't recognize it immediately. I love the trees. I love the redness, the dark sideness of that planet.
Yeah, I do too.
I feel that immediately. And you walk into like that Stonehenge area. I would love them to explore that planet a little bit more. I know we're really not, because we're past that now. But now we're going into a whole nother galaxy far, far away.
God, you know what I heard this week too? Is that the if you notice some of the stone objects that are around this little stone courtyard where they were doing whatever ritual they were and they had the hologram up and stuff, a lot of it looks somewhat similar to Vader's tower on Mustafar, like the spires that kind of go up with the shape like in the middle. You know how the top of his fortress is or whatever?
Yeah.
And they were thinking that he designed it that way to draw power or to maybe try to access the world between worlds. Because, I mean, that's one thing that we know Anakin's been after since he became Vader. How do I save Padme?
Yeah.
How do I do it?
How do I bring her back?
And there are comics where he actually talks to like a spirit or something. And it's through, that's one of the reasons he chose Mustafar is because of this energy.
Well, there's Vader Immortal for the Oculus, which is canon. Which when you see Vader trying to, bring Padme back to life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole game that's around that. But there's something else that I seen that alongside with those rocks. I don't remember the exact name of the episode, but you remember the episode in Clone Wars where there's the father, the daughter's light side, and the son is the actual
Yeah,
dark side.
Mortis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mortis in the Mortis arc.
Yeah.
And Anakin was supposed to take over for the father to keep the other two in check. And he
Yeah.
left, and the father said, "You will always regret this, and everyone around you will as well." And there was, it's just, I don't know. There's just a little connections that nerds like me catch. It just makes me happy.
Mortis arc is a big thing, probably bigger than anybody really knew back then, because there's like repercussions and like there's little hints towards it in even current stuff, which is really cool. Amber says, so Vader wants to be Voldemort and return. Does he have Horcruxes hidden somewhere? Is that why Morgan is involved?
Oh
No.
no.
No, I don't want Vader to return. That's Palpatine's job. Somehow Palpatine's returned. No, it's more about when Vader was alive. He basically blames himself for Padme dying, and Palpatine really leans into that because
And there was an old Sith Lord that was able to bring people back or keep them from dying. And
yeah. And Amber, I don't know if you've watched the prequels recently, but that was kind of the main pull of Anakin over to the dark side to begin with, because Palpatine was really kind of whispering in his ear, like, hey, I know you want to protect, you're having all these bad dreams about your wife dying. I kind of know, how to protect her, and you were not going to learn
you
it
heard
from
the
a
stories
Jedi.
about, I can't remember his name.
You heard of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Yeah, all that stuff.
So, dude, I'm going to find myself going down a rabbit hole. I'm going to start watching things again. But,
yeah.
Oh, I had a thought and it's completely gone.
It's just insane how huge the story is, man. Like, it's comic books, it's TV shows, it's movies that span 45 years now, and I'm just in awe that we can connect things with something that we just watched this week, and we can connect all these dots from things that we saw 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 40 years ago.
I think that's Filoni's influence.
Yeah.
That's Filoni's influence. But the thought came back to me. So Ahsoka was standing in the area holding the map, and there was like those imprints on it. And she's going through and she's basically seeing what took place. Do you now think that, because you were kind of down the road where you thought that Balin was whispering, sweet things into Sabine's ear, like not so much to join him, but just to give him the map and then go with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm trying to connect my own thoughts now. Because when Ahsoka was holding the actual map, she didn't get angry. There was no like disappointment or anything in her voice or in her.
No.
It was more, they've got her.
That's interesting, because maybe I was imprinting on that scene, but when the camera was doing a 360 around her as Ahsoka was listening to the scene that we watched last week, I interpreted the look on her face as like, oh no, Sabine was really tempted here, and if she's gone, then that means maybe she succumbed to that temptation. That's what I read and interpreted it. But maybe it seems like you read it a different way. So I think maybe that's just the subtlety of Rosario Dawson's performance in that moment, maybe.
Yeah, because I feel like it was almost like a Darth Maul Ezra situation when they were in the temple, and when Maul was kind of pulling him, not so like, it was more subtle. And I feel like that scene, looking back on it, could have been a very close to copy of what happened in the temple.
But really, it's like, what choice does Ahsoka have? Like, they did leave it kind of, you just hear Balin towards the end there. You don't hear Sabine, say like, okay, I'm definitely going with you. You have to think about the circumstances that she was in. And you and I talked about this last week. She went because what else the hell could Sabine do in that moment? Yeah. So at this point for Ahsoka, you just have to assume the best and just like, hey, my Padawan's out there. She's probably in danger. I'm going. I mean, beyond the whole thing of these bad guys trying to do something really wicked and bring a big, the Empire back essentially.
Yeah.
But now my Padawan's in direct danger, and I'm refreshed. I'm Ahsoka the White now, and I was
going to say, do you think her actual reaction would have been different if she didn't have that whole astroplane world between
Maybe.
worlds thing.
Yeah, maybe that may be a part of it where she might have been more
Because she could have
quick
been
to
thinking she's let Sabine down that road of being a
right,
warrior.
and then bring that despair, like desperateness onto herself, like, oh, this is my fault, and having a moment of like, I need to go get her so I can fix this mistake that I've made, which is like kind of the wrong read, as opposed to I need to go get her because I need to join the force on this journey and see where it leads, and like that kind of thing where
Yeah,
she's
because that'll
she's in a
connect right
better
to
place.
yeah, that'll connect right back to that first scene in Ryloth when she's like, I
Yeah.
led these guys, they were following me. They died because of me and a bad
Yeah.
choice I made.
Yeah.
So that could connect those two scenes right there.
Guilt. Yeah. Yeah. Guilt and fear of losing the people you're connected to. And yeah, the dark side of the force.
Well, I mean, is there anything else we got out there? I mean, Amber, is there anything else that you know of that you want to talk about? I think we've gotten. I mean, you can tell I enjoyed this one. I mean, we
We
both.
gushed, man. I think across the board, people were pretty positive on this thing. Where even folks like Amber, who don't have the huge backlog of knowledge on Star Wars stuff, they're like, "Oh, I could roll with it. This was a pretty cool episode." Versus, and then like you and me, who actually know what's going on, like the deep stuff, a lot of the back lore and stuff, we're like, "Oh my god, this is amazing."
Yeah. And I'll admit, it took a back seat for me last night. I went to Columbus, did a family thing out there, came home. There was a U.S. national team soccer game on. I watched that.
Yeah,
So then I watched this, and I was like, man, I should have watched this first.
it was a good way to end the night. I tell you that.
Absolutely. Let me see. Let me see. Amber here says, overall, I thought it was a really good episode. See, it definitely
Piqued my interest in
checking out Clone Wars. Clone Wars is a beast. I'll be honest. There's a lot there. It's scattered, and you got to follow it. There are ways, like if you go online on how to watch it chronologically, because it doesn't release chronologically. I'm probably scaring you away from it. I'm sorry, but it's phenomenal.
There's got to be some condensed list of Clone Wars episodes. Like, here are the episodes to watch if you want to really get a feeling of the Clone Wars. There's got to be some kind of list out there.
Oh no, if you're going to go into it. Dive in. Go ahead first.
Watch every single one, even because Amber, it's the old school where they made like 20 plus episodes per season. So, and there were 7 seasons in total. So
they're only about 20 some minutes a piece, though. 20, 22 minutes, but it's still a lot of episodes and a lot of time. That's commitment.
Yeah, that is commitment for sure.
Okay, guys. Well, I mean, we talked our way through this here. If you're still here with us like Amber is, you're awesome. But go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, show us a little love. We do these. We put out a lot of shorts now, so we kind of condense these down to a couple little things. I think Sean put out a little short about a new little pet he has, so go check that out over there.
Where's he at? Right back.
Oh, there he is. He's in a little fish tank. I think he's a little gecko looking thing. He's kind of scary. One of those nightmare creatures that you wake up at and he's looking at you in the face. But
it's an axolotl, and he's very cute.
But I think it's a good spot for us to go ahead and tell everyone to have the force.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you. What in the world did I say? Check you later.